Hello and welcome to the second episode of the PlayVision podcast. My name is Jack Dan, and I'm joined by
Praneel.
and we're going to do a little recap of the NBA trade deadline, talk about everything that went down this weekend. I think the first thing we want to talk about is the Jaren Jackson Jr. trade. He went to the Utah Jazz, and something that really shocked the entire NBA world. Praneel, what was your initial read on that trade?
Yeah, I was in class. This was, I think, the closest we've been to like the Luka trade, even though it was obviously not the Luka trade in terms of the magnitude. I mean, this was very unexpected. I don't think I heard anything about Memphis shopping JJJ. But yeah, I mean, I saw the trade. Details felt low at first. Utah ended up receiving Landale, Conchar, Vince Williams, who I like. I think Williams is a good player. And Jaren Jackson Jr. Grizzlies got Walter Clayton, Taylor Hendricks, Kyle Anderson, George Niang, who got cut, and 3 first-round picks. But initial read was I thought Utah kind of made out like bandits, and I thought they got JJJ for very cheap. But after looking at more, I thought, honestly, this was kind of like an even trade, maybe even the Grizzlies winning over Utah.
Yeah, I had a similar initial read, too, where I was like, this seems like a huge win for the Jazz. I was a little surprised. You know, we've been hearing sort of rumblings about Danny Ainge stockpiling all these picks, eventually looking to add this big star to the core he's building over there. It's with the Laurie, Walker Kessler, Ace Bailey, Keontae George now looks like a really great player. I was surprised initially that Jaren Jackson Jr. was the guy, but I think that really aligns with the core they're building. They've got this jumbo-sized lineup that they can run out there. They've got a big team that's hinged on defense. They can really perfectly hide George on defense. I've liked a lot of what the Jazz are doing, and Jaren Jackson seemed like a good add to that. I was very surprised by the trade initially, though. When we were talking about, Memphis seemed like they were on the market to make trades. Everyone thought that Morant would be the first shoe to drop, but it was Jaren Jackson Jr. and
You never dropped.
John Morant's still a Grizzly.
You never dropped. Yeah, I think at first glance, I was thinking about the team fit, and I really like it for Utah. I mean, George is not a good point of attack defender. He's really bad as a defender. He is a very, very good scorer, though. And you sort of get now 3 guys on the back line that are very good on that end to hide George. So defensively, the fit makes a lot of sense. My main issues with the fit, though, are you're pairing 2 guys that are not good passers and have huge usage rates in JJJ. In Markkanen. I think I saw the stat where, like, when you look at guys that are scoring above 20 points per game this past season, and you look at assist numbers, both Markkanen and JJJ have the lowest out of the 48 players that score 20 or more per game, which is not good. But if there's a guy that can maximize players that aren't willing passers or aren't pass-first guys, it is Will Hardy. He's very good at that. Keontae George has developed a ton as a passer since coming to the league, and I think he's a very good passer now. So I still believe that the passing is an issue, but Hardy does make me feel a little bit better about it. But fit-wise, for Utah, I think it's great. Jackson is a great fit with Kessler and Markkanen.
Yeah, and they have bench players that can kind of fill that passing need for them. Obviously, Isaiah Collier comes
22 assists this last game.
Yeah. Really, really good playmaker. Kyle Filipowski has some passing juice. If they decide to keep him, I'm pretty sure he's expiring. If they keep him on like a shorter deal, Yusuf Nurkic is a pretty good passing big as well. He's been great for them this year. They've got pieces that they can develop off the bench that they can mix in and out when the offense gets a little stagnant. But overall, there's something brewing in Utah, and I think I like it.
Yeah, I will say for Utah, the cap can get scary. You're sort of paying JJJ $50 million for I think the next 4 years. He's going to be 30% of your cap. Markkanen's also on a max. Keontae George, you're going to have to pay this offseason. Kessler, you're going to have to pay this offseason. You kind of shorten your window more than you expect because you're going to be a tax team before long. When I'm looking at Utah and when I'm looking at their build, I think they have a lot of talent. I think Bailey's a great, I wasn't high on Bailey, but Bailey's looked really good, and him going to Utah was great for him because Hardy's a fantastic coach. You have a chance of getting like a top 8 pick this year, which will add more talent. And I think if they keep building, if they keep adding talent, you have a chance to be a pretty good team. But I don't know. I mean, I've just graded it as like a B for Utah. You get talent, but JJJ is getting paid a lot of money, and he needs to get back to the 2023 DPOY form for him to really maximize value for the contract and for Utah.
Yeah, and we gave the Grizzlies an A on this one. They get a ton of cap relief. Obviously, Praneel was just talking about how JJJ's deal is enormous. But then they also open up a $28.8 million TPE, which could be used in the future. We thought it might be used for the Pirtle deal during this deadline, but it's pretty easy to see some team with a big bloated contract, giving the Grizzlies that player in exchange for a bunch of draft equity. So I think a really good deal for the Grizzlies to get off of JJJ here.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the biggest prize was, outside of Clayton, was the 2031 Phoenix pick. Phoenix obviously has been having a great season now, but 2031, Booker will be, I think, 36 years old. So you're sort of betting on Phoenix sort of being on a downturn, and that pick could be really valuable. You also get a 2027 pick next year from Utah, and I believe a 2029 Utah pick. So you get a lot of draft equity, and I mean, I think the Grizzlies have done a great job building up their draft equity. And I think, as funny it is to say, they started the rebuild probably like 2 days ago, 3 days ago, they're already in a better position than a lot of teams. So good job on, I think it's Zach Lehman, I forget, Grizzlies front office, GM, for a great job. And if they can get Morant off in the offseason, I think they'll be fully geared to go on a pretty quick turnaround with the talent they already have.
Yeah, it's funny. When you look at the Grizzlies roster, they look on the surface like a roster that is in like a rebuilding stage, but they've been competing. Most of their guys are really young. They've got Cedric Coward, who they love, Zach Edey. But then up and down the roster, it's a bunch of really young players. Gigi Jackson's still super young. Jalen Wells, Scottie Pippen Jr. They've got a ton of young talent on that team. They'll be able to rebuild this team pretty quick.
Yeah, and their talent's good. Wells has been better after a rough start. Edey, I think, whenever he plays, has been very dominant. Coward has been a top 5 rookie. And if you compare that with high talent, I mean, you have picks this year, and you have a potential really high pick in I think they'll be worse this year without JJJ. You can get like a top 10 pick maybe. If they can fall out of the play-in race, then that's another big pick. This draft is really, really good. So, I don't know. I really like it. Clayton, we didn't even mention Clayton. Clayton is a great player. I mean, this year, obviously, he's rookie, not great, but in college, he had a 79.0 PPI for us, 88.6 according to PlayVision on the offense side of the ball. So, that's a real player. But yeah, I like this a lot for Memphis. Cap relief, you get future assets, you get a trade exception, you're sort of moving in a right direction, you have a direction. You've decided on moving away from Morant, you've decided on moving away from these early 2000s Grizzlies teams that were a bunch of fun, and you have a direction. So I think this is a great move for Memphis.
Yeah, speaking of teams that have chosen a direction, let's talk about the Harden and Garland swap, which was rumored for a couple days before it happened. Regardless of that, pretty surprising that James Harden wanted out of this Clippers team, who had just won 16 of the last 20 games.
Yeah.
The Cavaliers get Harden. The Clippers get Darius Garland in a second-round pick. Garland was having a bit of a tough season. He's recovering from injuries. He's been injury-riddled for the last couple of years, but still a good player, still quite young.
Yeah.
And Harden is having a huge statistical season, obviously not at the greatest efficiency, but he has taken the lead, or he had taken the lead of that Clippers team in a big way offensively. And I'm really curious to see what that's going to look like in Cleveland next to Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah. In Harden's defense, I think this was more mutual than just him. I think the Clippers also wanted to move off of him because they wanted to sort of, I mean, they chose a huge direction this trade deadline. They committed towards being worse next year and committed for freeing up as much cap as possible for the 2027 offseason. But Harden will provide you so much on both sides of one side of the ball as this playmaker type that Garland wasn't able to provide consistently because of the injury issues, right? And I think with the other trade that I think you have to talk in conjunction to this trade, which was the trade that gets you Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroeder, you have the opportunity to sort of stagger lineups with Harden and Mitchell, since they're both not. I think Mitchell's a pretty solid defender, but he's not a great defender, and Harden is obviously not a great defender. And stagger lineups with better defenders in Ellis and Schroeder with Harden and Mitchell. But when it comes with scoring, when it comes with creation, when it comes with playmaking, you're never gonna find a better backcourt than Harden and Mitchell in the NBA. They are incredible at that, and it'll be very fun to watch them play off each other as two very, very good ball handlers and very, very good creators and even passers. Mitchell's been great as a passer this season in Cleveland this year.
Yeah, and the fit with Evan Mobley once he gets back, as well as Jared Allen, I mean, there's just going to be a ton of lobs going on for this Cleveland team. It just creates an entirely different dynamic for this roster. Obviously, Darius Garland, a great scoring guard, but he felt like he had kind of stagnated a little bit in Cleveland, like he hadn't grown that much, and obviously a lot of that is because of the injuries. He's been hurt pretty consistently for the last 3 seasons. He was averaging 18 and 6 on solid shooting numbers, but that's what he's been doing for the last couple of years. So Cleveland saw an opportunity to get a lot better at the point guard position right away.
Exactly.
Obviously, long term, you'd probably rather have Garland, but right now, this season, next season, which is perfect for what Cleveland's core looks like right now, they're going to have a chance to move on. To move
Yeah.
on further in the playoffs. I mean, Cleveland has been a little stuck in the mud with this core. They've got a ton of players, and I think the whole of their parts is better than the sum. They've got a lot of really talented guys, but they haven't been able to get over the hump. And it's weird to talk about Harden as a guy who gets you over the playoff hump because of like his Game 7 struggles, but he hasn't been surrounded with this kind of a team quite yet.
I think Harden is a better player performer than what he sort of is talked about in the media and what he's talked about with fans. He's still a pretty damn good player, man. I mean, before he got injured for Brooklyn, he was ridiculous those playoffs. Like, he was very, very good before he got injured. I don't think people remember that.
Yeah, it's weird with him because the Game 7s are bad. We know that. But,
everything else is pretty good.
But because of the Game 7s, it ignores the fact that, he's pretty good in Game 5, he's pretty good in Game 6, pretty good in Game 3. Like,
in his defense, now he has one of the best player performances in recent memory in Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell is a ridiculous player performer. And you pair him with Harden, who I don't want to call it playoff woes because he is not a bad player performer, but Game 7 woes, I think that's great. And shout out Jalen Tyson. He, with the Hunter trade and now with this Harden trade, he's going to be 100% in the starting lineup now as the starting three. I mean, he's been great. That's a Cal alum, so I'm obviously a huge fan. But Tyson is like a perfect pass, dribble, shoot, sort of third option, third ball handler in that starting lineup. I think he'll fit great with Harden, playing off Harden. And Mitchell, of course. Yeah, if you want, I want to talk about the Keon Ellis swing that the Cavs also made. I thought that was a great, great, great move for Cleveland. You get another ball handler, which they sorely needed because Lonzo was not doing well in that role. And you get Keon Ellis. And Keon Ellis is like a 95th, 99th percentile defensive playmaker as a guard. He's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, the Cavs have had the Sam Merrill weapon in their arsenal for a while here. And Sam Merrill, great player, great shooter. His shooting will swing games for you. The problem with him is you just can't fit him in a playoff rotation. He just can't defend. Now you're getting a guy who's maybe a little bit worse of a shooter, but we're still talking over 40% from three, but is now in that 95th, 96th percentile of defender. You've got that same weapon, but now you can play that weapon in a playoff setting. It's going to be huge for them. I think Kenny Atkinson is going to be able to bring in Keon for 15, 20 minutes in a playoff game, and he'll be able to swing a game for him.
100%. I mean, as Kings fans, we know the type of player Keon Ellis is. He is a ridiculously good defensive playmaker. I mean, I will say, on ball, there are things that I wish he was better at. He's, of course, average. He is a above average on-ball defender, in my opinion. But he is billed, and he was traded in this trade because of how good he is at creating events on defense. He averages 6.8 deflections per 100 possessions, I believe, which is, I think, the 99th percentile.
It's
stock rate.
One of the best metrics in the NBA. He's one of the best in the league at doing it.
Stock metrics are huge. 4.5% stop percentage, which is, I think, 95th percentile. He's a ridiculous player. And I think Schroeder, for what it's worth, is better than Hunter. Schroeder gives you a steady ball handler who always seems to be better on every other stop, and he wasn't great in Sacramento, so there's reason to believe he'll be better in Cleveland. But as a third ball handler, or fourth ball handler, after Harden, after Mitchell, after Jalen Tyson, I guess, Schroeder's great at that. He'll give you great point of attack defense. He can drive, and the jump shot comes and goes, but when it's on, it's on. So I think for Cleveland, giving up Hunter, who wasn't great for them, and getting two guys that'll fit into the playoff rotation with Harden, with Mitchell, with their entire core is great.
Yeah, and to segue into another team that I think really improved their playoff rotation, we got to talk about the Ivica Zubac trade for the Indiana Pacers, which is a pretty wild one considering the return, especially with the draft pick this year. But Ivica Zubac goes to Indiana for Benedict Mathurin, Isaiah Jackson, and a first-round pick. One of them is the 2020 pick, which is protected 1 to 10 to 30. So it's a risk, but Ivica Zubac is transformational for the Pacers.
You essentially take like a 50-50 gamble right now on whether that pick will be 1 through 4 or 5 through 9. I don't think Indy's going to fall.
If it doesn't convert, it'll become an unprotected 2031.
Yeah, which, that is what it is. But for Indy, you're sort of now in this position where you're betting 50-50. I don't think they'll fall below top 3 odds. They're not very good. I think Zubac will get like a mystery illness or mystery injury, and it'll be out for the rest of the season. But Indy sort of bets 50-50 on getting top 4. And even if they don't get top 4, Zubac is an incredible fit with Tyrese Halliburton, And I will say it right now, I think he's a huge upgrade over Turner. In the playoffs last season, especially in the finals, Turner was their fourth best defender. And I know you want to call Turner this elite rim protector, and he's very valuable at the center position as a rim protector, but Turner this season hasn't been good. Turner last season in the playoffs was their fourth best defender. He was worse than Naismith, he was worse than Siakam, he was worse than Nembhard on that side of the ball. And on the offensive side of the ball, yes, he shoots the ball well. He's not a good screener. He's not a good rebounder, right? Zubac is a great rebounder. He's a great screener, and he is an elite pick and roll player. Tyrese Halliburton, as we know, is one of the best pick and roll ball handlers in basketball, and he has not had that weapon ever as a Pacer. I honestly think that's true. I don't think he's ever had a weapon like Zubac at the big man position as a Pacer. So it's a great swing for Indiana.
Yeah, and we've seen, without Halliburton this year, we've seen Siakam just have an incredible season. He's an all-star. This Zubac move is going to give him so much more freedom. He's going to have to do a lot less in the paint, a lot less of the dirty work, which works well for his style of game. And you do miss the three-point shooting aspect of Miles Turner's game, but you've got Jay Huff off the bench who can do that, who I think was a great pickup in the offseason. Zubac is, this Pacers team is really going to be scary, especially if they manage to hold on to this pick and take a guy like Peterson, who is a devastating scorer next to Halliburton, or a Debonsa who can work off of these guys and sort of work through his shot selection issues.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think if you get Peterson or DeBonst or even like a Caleb Wilson, which would be a fun like sort of backup four type of swing, any of those guys, or even Boozer for instance. I don't think Boozer's the best fit, but Boozer will just produce, right? Any of those top four guys, you fit one of those into this team, it'll be incredible. I mean, to only give up Mathurin and Jackson as players and get Zubac in return, who's on, I think, the best contract in basketball. I think, is that crazy to say? 30% of your cap, yeah, 19 to 21 million, ridiculous for his level of player. Is amazing. I mean, Mathurin, he comes in for us at a 54.8 PPI. He can get to the rim, shooting his touch and go, is a good driver, and I mean, defensively, not really there, but he was really good for them in the playoffs. I will give him that. He was great for them in the finals as a guy that can get to the rim, get to the line. But to give up only Mathurin and Jackson for Zubac is a huge swing. Pacers make an upgrade over Turner and over their current rotation for sure.
Yeah, Mathurin swung him a finals game, but you're going to be able to replace a lot of that Mathurin stuff with an increased role from Andrew Nembhard. I think a lot of those touches are going to go right to Nembhard. And Nembhard, it's funny, I think Mathurin gets to the line a lot better than Nembhard does because he goes there looking for contact. Nembhard will generate contact with the way he plays. He'll get free throws eventually. It'll happen for him with increased volume without Mathurin on the team. That will come for him.
Yeah, and I'm very excited to watch what the Pacers do now without Mathurin as ball handlers. I want to see more of Nembhard being aggressive, getting to the rim as he's shown this season, with Halliburton back, with their full rotation back next year. Because Nembhard's been really good for them. Nembhard's averaging 17.5, 8 assists on good shooting. I mean, his regular season three-point shooting numbers are not good, which is funny because I think he's a very, very good shooter. And this season's been more like what he is as a shooter, shooting around 38% from three. So I'm excited to see him with an increased on-ball role as more of an attacker without Mathurin. And, I mean, once again, I said it earlier, but the fit with Zubac is ridiculous with Halliburton. It'll be amazing.
It will be. And, speaking of, I keep on doing these segues, speaking of, like, good pick-and-roll combinations that we saw joined up in the trade deadline, probably the most interesting and surprising deal we saw all day, all week, probably all year, is the Washington Wizards trading for Anthony Davis, creating this Trae Young AD pick-and-roll combo with just a legion of young swing wings. This is a really interesting trade to talk about. It was Anthony Davis, Jaden Hardy, D'Angelo Russell, and Dante Exum going to the Wizards for Chris Middleton, AJ Johnson, Malachi Branham, who got rerouted to Charlotte, Marvin Bagley, Tyus Jones, who was taken back for Malachi Branham, 2 first-round picks, and 3 second-round picks. It's a crazy big haul of players that really aren't, like, it's a big haul in terms of names and numbers.
Yeah.
The picks are not that great. The OKC 2026 pick, which will probably be like 28, 29, 30th, and Golden State's 2030 pick, which actually could be pretty good.
Washington traded nothing. Yeah. I'm comfortable saying that. Washington traded nothing, and they got Anthony Davis in return, which is ridiculous to say. Davis this season, I think, has been good. 91.9 PPI according to PlayVision, but that's not the issue. The issue is the injury stuff. That's always been the issue with Anthony Davis, right? I don't know how many games he's played this year. I think it's less than 20. I'm not sure. I think you can check that for me, Jack. But Last season, he didn't play a lot of games either. He got to Dallas and immediately got injured. And, I mean, going to Washington now, you pair him with Alex Sarr, who is an elite defender, elite rim protector. You let Davis play the 4. And, like, for now, I think he actually fits in the 4 for Washington, unlike where he'd fit for, like, any other team. I think that's fair to say, because Sarr can shoot the 3-ball well, and no one on Dallas was able to shoot the 3-ball well. And, I mean, Davis is a transformational defender. Sarr's a transformational defender. Keyshawn George's a good defender. Jury's still on Trey Johnson, but you get these like actually transformational defenders next to Trey Young, and you start thinking, in theory, this kind of works. We'll need to see how it looks on the basketball court, of course, but in theory, Washington has a fun team. I think you'll need to see more growth with a lot of their young pieces, a lot of their young depth pieces especially, because as it is right now, they don't have enough depth. They don't have enough current production to make this a fully confirmed playoff team. But I mean, as it is right now, if these players don't make leaps, which I think it's fair to think that they will, this is a play-in team looking to be like a playoff plus team if guys continue to grow.
Yeah, I mean, Washington, to give them credit, they saw an opportunity to add 2 all-star level players for really nothing. They risked nothing for either of the 2 players.
Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
That's good business.
Aren't their own. They gave up a bunch of expirings and guys that they were probably looking to move off of anyway, and you get this combination of guys. And you mentioned the Sarr fit. I think this works well for both of them. I think a lot of people were looking at the Wizards like, maybe you pair Sarr with another guy and you let Sarr play the 4 for the rest of his career. Now you're pairing Sarr with a guy who should be playing the 4, and you're letting him do the 5, like the stretch 5 thing. This is a really fun team. They can get a little bit of offensive development from a Bilal Coulibaly. They can run Trey Young, Coulibaly, Keyshawn George, who now gets to move up to a more...
You got Trey Johnson. I think you start Trey Johnson.
You forget about Trey Johnson. This team has so much potential here if they can figure it out. Maybe it's figuring out the coaching, but the East is going to be wide open for a while here. I mean, you've got Indiana, who I think is probably my pick to take the East next year, given what the roster looks like. This team, and also they've got this chance with these guys to create a more elevated ecosystem for the young guys to develop. And obviously right now, Washington, they're losing a ton of games. It's probably not the greatest place for guys to develop. With Trey Young and Anthony Davis, you'll have a floor for them to develop on at not big of a risk. They're not beholden to paying these guys a ton of money long term and getting locked into Trey Young and AD. They can just let them walk.
100%.
There was a lot of talk about how Anthony Davis, day one in Washington, was going to request an extension because he's Rich Paul's guy. That didn't come. It's probably not a guarantee to come. Everyone was talking about, if Anthony Davis gets traded, he's going to immediately get an extension. Didn't happen. It might not happen. And if it does, it might be pretty team-friendly. It's Anthony Davis. He's older. He's had a ton of injury concerns. I can imagine the market on him not being super robust.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think right now. I think both AD and Trey are expiring next year.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, so you essentially give yourself 1 year to see how this works. I think that's fair to do with another year of development from your young guys. You have a chance of getting a top 4 pick. I forget where they're at in odds. I think they're 4th or 5th in odds right now.
They're 4th.
They're 4th.
And yeah,
so
you see how this works, if it works really well, then make smart decisions and extend them. But if it doesn't, and Keyshawn George looks like he can average 25, and Trey Johnson looks like he can average 20, then cut losses, and you're good. And now they've had a year to experience what correct offense looks like, and now they can do it.
And then you can figure it out later. And I mean, I'm thinking about the pick too. If Washington doesn't jump to top 3 and you stay at 4, you take Caleb Wilson, who's low-key, I think, the best possible fit next to an Alex Sarr, outside of maybe Boozer, that I can think of. Right?
Yeah, and if they fall further, then you grab Kingston Flemings, and you've got your guard to replace Trey.
Exactly. I mean, I love the maneuverability Washington sort of built for themselves here. You have a bunch of talent. You have a bunch of guys. You can play next year as you're playing with house money type of year, where you're just trying to see if things work out, because you basically traded nothing for these 2 guys. If things work out and you have a real team, you continue to build around them, and you sort of aim for whatever, right? You have so much talent in Washington right now, and you have a really bright future with your young guys and this pick. I think Washington has a chance to be really fun moving forward. And I think we have to talk about the Dallas side of things, especially with this trade coming 366 days after the Luka trade. We do have to talk about it and the sad AD era that happened for the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, the Luka Doncic trades ends up turning into Marvin Bagley. Isn't that ironic? They do get the 2030 pick from Golden State. That is an interesting pick. A pretty good chance Golden State's not an awesome team in 2030. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But they get AJ Johnson, who I'm not super sold on as a prospect, and Chris Middleton, who will just expire. This is the Mavericks fully committing to the rebuild and accepting that the Luka trade was awful, which I think is the right thing to do.
It's the right thing to do.
It's the right thing to do. Nico Harrison not with the organization anymore. Like, it was a bad trade. I'm glad that they understand that and that they're not trying to double and triple and quadruple down on it. They're cutting their losses, which is Anthony Davis, and they're allowing Cooper Flagg to walk into next season with a new guy in the draft and an empty cap sheet.
Yeah, I agree. You fully give yourself an opportunity for Cooper to develop without a shadow of the Luka trade, I think, which is, obviously not like a thing not like a thing that is sort of stands out in the court, but I think in the locker room and in your mind, you're sort of thinking about what this guy on my team was traded for Luka. And I think it works both ways with both Cooper and AD, where AD's probably spending his entire time in Dallas thinking about, I was traded for Luka. You have that in the back of your mind, probably affects your play too. But on the court, you sort of clear complete way for Cooper to be the guy. You cut your losses with AD. You sort of are going to be worse this year without AD. I don't think AD was going to come back from injury anyways, but you sort of give yourself this 1 year. I think this is the only year they have their they control their first round pick, or they have their first round pick, if I'm not mistaken, for Dallas.
I think that's
so. You give this year to sort of just kind of suck for a little bit, get another guy next to Cooper, and then figure it out from there. That Luka trade was really, really bad, and trading AD basically a full year after the trade is hilariously bad when it comes to value. But you get Cooper Flagg. It is the right thing to do if you're Dallas, and Cooper has been incredible this last week. He's averaging, I think, 35 points per game in the last 4 games, which is an absurd amount for a guy that's younger than me, and I'm 19 years old. But, you cut your losses, you get a bunch of whatever players, you get another first-round pick in this year's draft class, which is fun, but it's time for a new era in Dallas.
Yeah, certainly. Let's move on and talk about some of these more marginal moves that we saw at the trade deadline. We've talked about the big ones. Let's start with Bulls. Moving off of Vucevic and bringing in Anthony Simons. We both talked about this a little bit before we started recording. We really like this for Boston, bringing in Nikola Vucevic. It's like they were great with Horford. And obviously, Vooch is not Horford, but you mix him and you mix Kata together. You give Vooch 20 minutes and 10 minutes to Kata, and you've got Horford there somewhere, right? Vucevic is a great floor spacer, good rebounder. Kata's a great rebounder and a great rim defender. Obviously, Kata's not going to be a high-minute kind of a guy. He makes too many mistakes for that. He makes too many turnovers. And Vooch will alleviate some of that. He's a lot smarter. He's a very smart
Vooch is a very low turnover prone player. Very low turnover prone.
The two of them together, I think, are a really solid center rotation after, moving on from Porzingis. Like, they've built this on the fly. And when Jason Tatum comes back from his injury, they'll have something solid to work with down low.
Vucevic ranks 86.4 on PlayVision, which is a very high amount. When you look at it from the Celtics side of things, Vucevic is a very Celtics player. He shoots a lot of jumpers, given that he's a big. A lot of threes, a lot of mid-ranges. He does have a little bit of post-game, which gives the Celtics a little bit of an out in certain plays, which they didn't have with Kata. But I think the Celtics sort of upgrade in a big way in their center depth. Kata should still start, in my opinion, though. Kata, I think, has been great for them as a low-usage, high defensive ceiling type of big, but Vucevic will fit in nicely as like a 25-minute per game Horford type of player that gives you shooting that you didn't have. And the Celtics this year have been very good, and Vucevic will add to that the level of play that they've had this season, and he will be great for them in the playoffs too. And he's expiring this year, I think, so if you can ink him to like maybe 10, 15 millions max per year and keep him as a guy that'll keep growing with this team that will compete next year with Tatum, that's a great pick. That's a great get for them. Only trading Simons, who they got at the beginning of the season. It's great for Boston.
Yeah, I think the really underrated part of this is it allows you to match up well against some of the other teams you're likely going to face in the Eastern playoffs. Obviously, who knows how long Cat is going to be in New York, but if you were to go against the Knicks again in a playoff series, Cat and Mitchell Robinson, you kind of got your answer for that with Vooch and Neemias Queta. You're matching up really well with the other teams in the East by doing this trade. It makes a lot more sense than trying to figure it out with some rotation of Luka Garza and Neemias Queta.
Yeah, I agree. I still think Luka Garza will be like third big. He'll get a little bit of minutes, but I
Sure.
mean, if you think of it as like a player that'll fit directly into where Garza's playing in the center rotation, it's a huge upgrade.
Yeah,
Um, I li-
you're skipping ahead with Garza.
yeah,
Realistically, Vooch is a pretty good outcome for Luka
yeah,
Garza as a player.
yeah, exactly. And I like what you said about players that'll match up well against other bigs in the Eastern Conference playoffs. Like Vucevic will force Cat to sort of play up and get out of the paint, and you can really run a lot of things with Vuce as a pick and roll guy and really attack Cat in the pick and roll, which is what teams want to do in ways that you just can't and you just weren't able to do with Nemias Queta last season, right? I mean, last year in the playoffs, we remember New York struggled because they weren't able to attack New York in ways that most teams can, and weren't able to attack Cat in ways that most teams can, and most teams were able to do in the playoffs. And Vucevic gives you probably the best possible player for the best possible value to do that against, I think, your biggest competitor in this year's playoffs, which is going to be either New York, and Cleveland is another story, but probably New York.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be able to pull out Cat against like a Peyton Pritchard in space, and that's not going to go well for New York or
Exactly.
for Jalen Brown or Derek White. Pick your poison.
Yeah, exactly. And you can really attack Cat and attack even Brunson too. And that's what teams have been doing against New York this entire season.
Yeah, on the Bulls side of this, Simons is expiring, pretty low risk. You're getting Vooch off of the team. You're getting a second round pick for it, and it's a pretty good second round pick. It's New Orleans' 2026 pick, which is pretty damn close to a first round pick.
That's a first. That's a first.
It's going to be in the 30s, and in this draft, that's a really good pick to have. It's a great call from the Bulls. And speaking of the Bulls, they made a lot of different moves this
Yeah.
trade deadline, including bringing in Jaden Ivey for Kevin Herter, who was not playing well for them this year. So they're bringing in a pretty good player here in Jaden Ivey. I know Praneel still has a lot of hope for him.
I'm a big Ivy guy. I will defend Herter a little bit. I mean, Herter's been shooting horribly. Herter's fallen off a cliff as a shooter. As a Kings fan, I shouldn't be defending Herter, but
He does do that on occasions.
Herter will provide you some value as sort of like a short roll passer. He's been good as like a short roll type of playmaker. He's been good, solid as a ball handler for Chicago. But when I'm thinking about what Detroit needs, they don't really need what Herter provides. I would have just kept Ivy. I get wanting to move off the contract. Herter, I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's aspiring either this year or next year. Ivy, you extended on a 4 year. Yeah, you extended Ivy on a 4 year, and Ivy obviously got supplanted in the rotation and just doesn't have a spot anymore. Dennis Jenkins, I think, sort of took a spot with Ivy's injury. But Bulls are kind of doing the buy low thing, and they're doing it well. Ivy is a player. I firmly believe that. This season has been great, but last season he averaged 17.6, 4 assists, 4 rebounds on, I think it was, I'm looking at my notes here, 46% from the field, 40% from 3, and 73% from the line. His shooting this year has been 38%. He's grown as a three-point shooter. This is a real spacer. He's still very athletic, good with the ball. This is a player, man. He's a professional scorer. The defensive talent is still there. I really, really, really like this for Chicago. I mean, if you're going to make a buy low swing where you give up Herter, you give up Sarge, and you give up a first-round pick, yes, but it's a 2026 protected swap for Jaden Ivey and his talent. He's only 23. That's a great swing. I love this for Chicago.
It is a good swing, and Ivy has been pretty pigeonholed in Detroit. He hasn't gotten this. I mean,
He's had to play next to Cade.
Yeah, he's had to play next to Cade. He got a good amount of shots in his rookie season, but he hasn't had that since, and he has developed as a player since then. Especially in the second half of the season, we're probably going to see the Bulls try and unleash Ivy a little bit, see what he can do. He'll be next to Josh Giddey, which I think is going to be really good for him. Being next to Cade is one thing. Cade is a scoring guard first and before everything. He's going to take a lot of opportunities away from Ivy, and I think the opposite is true with Josh Giddey, who's going to just create a ton of open looks for Jaden Ivey. He's going to find himself open at the top of the break. He's going to shoot a bunch of threes like that. He's going to find himself in a ton of positions to be able to drive to the basket, which is, he's best at with his incredible athleticism. I think we could see a Jaden Ivey second half of the season where he's really good.
Yeah, I mean, Chicago, we're going to talk about the next couple of trades that Chicago made. Chicago's taking a lot of these, swings at these young guards that have potential. I mean, you can even call Simons a swing at a young guard, right? I don't think Simons I think he's 26. he's not that old, right? And he's shown ability to be a good player. Ivy, of course, is 23. He's going to be 24 in a week, but that's a young player. We're going to talk later on about taking a swing on Rob Dillingham, another young guard who you're going to give a chance at, right? So you have a bunch of these young guards that you just acquired this season on buy low sort of trades. You have a chance out. Like, if one of these pans out and pans out in a big way for Chicago, you're playing with house money, and that's exactly what you've been wanting Chicago to do for years, and they're finally doing it. So, I mean, great deadline for Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, we can go a little out of order here. Let's talk about the Rob Dillingham thing. They bring in Dillingham, who it was over in Minnesota. They didn't have a role. You know, in Minnesota, Dillingham has interesting tendencies. He's got, like, there is juice there, but Minnesota is not in a position where they can give him that kind of a leash. Dillingham is a guy where you're going to need, for him to really get himself going, he's got to have the ball in his hands. And Minnesota is too good to let it go like that right now. So the Bulls are going to get him, and that's in exchange for Ayo Dosunmu, who's a really good player, I think. That is a guy that's going to help out Minnesota right away. But to stick on Dillingham for a second, that's another guy who I think Chicago is going to be able to bring off their bench and just say, hey, Rob, here's the keys to the car. Have fun for 10 minutes. And we'll see him do some... There's going to be some crazy Rob Dillingham highlights coming out in the next month, I'm sure.
I'm 100% sure, yeah, I completely agree. And I think another part of this deal that was another buy low type of swing was Leonard Miller. I love Leonard Miller. I am not selling my Leonard Miller stock. I think it's dipped a bit. I think we're at like a dollar per share now for Leonard Miller LLC. But there's a player there. I mean, he deserves, I think, 20 minutes per game with the limited amount of center play that they have. They did get Nick Richards, and Nick Richards is not that good, but Leonard Miller as a 4 or 3, 4, 5, anywhere in the front court, he deserves to play, and he should play at least 20 minutes a game down the stretch for Chicago right now, right? I think with his passing upside, with his length, 6'11", with like plus wingspan, rebounding talent, like the whole package there's something there, man. Like, this is a former guard, and he shows it when he's on the court. He can rebound the hell out of basketball. He can score, shooting upside. Like, I'm not out on him, man. And in Chicago, too, with how much they tore down their center rotation, their front court rotation, Miller should play. And if he does play, he'll show stuff. In this trade, too, they got 4 second-round picks. And Chicago got 9 second-round picks this deadline. This collection of young talent that they were able to get, getting off of contracts, getting off of older guys, getting seconds is exactly what exactly what you want Chicago to do as they head towards more of a rebuild.
Yeah, it's been a pretty shocking deadline for the Bulls, who we have seen make some pretty strange decisions in the last couple of years. Karnisovas got hit with the Presti Ray. He's buying low. He's accumulating picks. You love to see it. And, you know, Praneel, this has been a big win for you and I's agendas with Leonard Miller and Josh Minot just getting into situations where they can finally play, which is good for us.
Yeah, Minot went to Brooklyn.
Yeah, Minot went to Brooklyn for nothing, for a copy machine.
For nothing, yeah.
For a copy machine and like a couple extra jerseys. It's like $110K for Boston. The Nets pick him up.
Yeah.
And he'll be able to play minutes over there. They waived Tyrese Martin and Cam Thomas.
Waiving Cam Thomas is rough.
Yeah, we didn't even put Cam Thomas in our notes, but
I mean, this is the 2 seconds you have. Cam Thomas will do something off the bench for some playoff team, maybe. We'll see. Who knows? Who knows?
You know, I was listening to the Zach Lowe, which, by the way, the Bill Simmons Zach Lowe portion on Cam Thomas, like the live reaction to him getting cut, hilarious. Go watch it. But Zach Lowe's analogy there was like, you know, Cam Thomas is a live grenade, and you're throwing him into whatever team signs him. Good luck. You know, hopefully you can pick it up and throw it at another team in the playoff game.
And it works.
Destroys your bench.
Works. We'll see. Before we move on, I do want to talk about Ayo.
Oh, please. Yeah, I was moving on to Ayo. Let's talk him.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, Minnesota, I mean, guard rotation was their biggest issue. And Mike Conley, they traded him, and then he went back, which is funny because I think it was the Andrew Bogut like clause or whatever. I don't know what it is in the CBA, but if you get traded to a team and you get cut, you can't sign back to that team. But Conley got traded twice this deadline, so he could sign back to Minnesota, which is what he did. And, I mean, you still keep Conley. He'll be, like, I think the 4th guard. DiVincenzo's been solid for them as, like, a 1. But Dosunmu is going to be huge. And I think for what he does, he's better than Nickeil Alexander. He'll be better for them than Nickeil Alexander-Walker was for them. And I'm not trying to come here and say that Na is worse than Dosunmu. I think Na's a better player, and he's shown he's a better player this season. But for the role that Minnesota needs and the role that Na fit, Dosunmu will be better.
Yeah.
Dosunmu. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Ayo's been not great on the defensive end of the floor this year, but he has been sneaky awesome on offense. He's averaging 15, 3 and 3 on 51, 45, 85, which is just great
Ridiculous.
spread. That 45% from 3 number is not low volume either. He's shooting like 3, 4 attempts a game. He's going to be the kind of guy that you can, and he's not the greatest defender, but he's got a ton of length. So he will run into deflections. He'll run into steals eventually. And you're putting him next to Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards is going to attract a ton of attention. He'll be able to kick the ball out to the other side where Dosunmu will be able to drill wide open threes for them. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about them getting a guy like Malik Monk to fill that role. And I think Dosunmu is just way better for that, where he's just a more consistent three-point shooter. He'll be able to sit there and spot up. He has the length to compete as well on the defensive end of the floor. I love this move for Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm looking at the numbers right now. Dosunmu shooting 45% on 4 attempts per game. That's ridiculous. I will say, I think Dosunmu is a better defensive player than you gave him credit for. I'm higher on Dosunmu on that end. I mean, the length is real. Hovered around, I think, 1 steal a game, less than a steal a game for like his entire career. He has length, he fights hard, he has quickness, and he just creates plays, right? And I think to get a smart, heady guard to come off the bench as your sort of third, fourth guard is really, really huge for Minnesota. And once again, one of my favorite things about this move for Chicago is you sold high on a player. Chicago doesn't do that normally, but they did, which makes me excited to see a team turn the page and start doing moves and making moves that good teams do. And I think this deadline was an example of Chicago making moves that good teams do. And I mean, yeah, Minnesota does get a great player in Ayo, but the Bulls sold really high on him and got a bunch of young talent for Ayo Dosunmu.
Yeah, I said it earlier. This is a really stunning turn from Karnisovas, who we don't expect to do these kind of things. Speaking of GMs who do a lot of good stuff, terrible segue. Let's talk about OKC picking up Jaren McCain.
Yeah.
So kind of a fun little, pick protection's not fun, but this one is kind of a fun one. In exchange for Jaren McCain, Philly gets a first-round pick that is the second most favorable from Houston, Clippers, and OKC. It's probably going to be Houston's pick. Might be the 20th pick, first, 22nd pick. And they also get 3 second-round picks for Jaren McCain. That's selling pretty high on a guy who had a great rookie season for 20 games before getting hurt and has not been good for them this year and really hasn't had a place for Philly in their rotation.
I like this more for Philly than I do for OKC.
Really?
I do. I think Jaren McCain was redundant in Philadelphia. Getting Edgecombe makes Jaren McCain redundant. Getting Quentin Grimes makes Jaren McCain redundant. I think you want to play your 3 guards and only those 3 guards. I mean, you can sort of fill that backup 1 in the aggregate. I think Edgecombe can low-key do that himself. There is some juice there with him as a ball handler. I'd rather have Edgecombe figure that out than play like a Kyle Lowry or whoever. You can sort of run 3 guards. You can play bigger in the front court because they have a lot of guys that I think deserve minutes in the front court than they do in the backcourt now. You have Oubre, you have Barlow, you have George, who's obviously the suspension. You have Justin Edwards, Drummond, and Dembona. Drummond, Embiid, right? You have all these guys in the front court that I would rather pay. Drummond does give you rebounding stuff, but sure. So you have all these guys, right? And you're able to sell high. You get 3 seconds. You get a first-round pick. You get all this stuff. And next year's draft class is incredible, right? You have a chance of getting I think this pick could be anywhere from 18 to 25. I don't think Houston's that great. So you can get a pick that at best could be 19 in this class. That is a good player. That is a player that'll fit in. One thing I do wish they did, and they didn't, I think the only other trade they made was an Eric Gordon salary dump, if I'm not mistaken, was to get a more stable 4. But Dominic Barlow's been really good for Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So I think that might be fine. And Kelly Oubre can play that in a pinch. I think that'll be fine.
If Dom Barlow is your 8th, 9th man in a series, that's fine. I think that's a perfectly fine guy to have there. And this pick, you said it is going to be 18 to 25. You can get that 4 at that position, for sure.
100%.
There's going to be players that will drop to that you will be very happy with. And
100%.
For all of his faults, Daryl Morey, he'll find that player.
Daryl Morey is...
full confidence he'll make that a good pick there.
Daryl Morey is, I think, the best in the league when it comes to margins out of Presti. I think Morey is wicked on the margins. Quentin Grimes was high-key a margin swing, right?
Yeah, that's the other thing that you didn't even mention is doing the McCain thing allows you to do more Quentin Grimes. And, Grimes, Jared McCain was doing what you want Quentin Grimes to do in his rookie year for 15, 20 games. Then he got hurt, and he wasn't doing it this year. Now you can go back to saying, all right, Quinn, here's your 10 minutes a game, keys to the car, go crazy.
Yeah, and Grimes, I mean, I just want to go on a little Daryl Morey rant to think about how we built this team purely off the margins. Arlo has been a revelation for them as like, I mean, he starts games for them, but obviously he doesn't play as a starter. He plays more as like you mentioned it, like an 8th, 7th, 9th man. He's been great for them. I mean, Maxey was a margin swing. You get him at like what, pick 19. He's a freaking all-star, all-NBA guy. Grimes is a freaking margin swing, right? You trade him for Caleb Martin, who is horrible, and you get a guy like Grimes. I mean, Morey's incredible. Morey is, I mean, Oubre, margin swing. That guy, you got him on like a 2-year, $10 million contract, and he's been great. I mean, Daryl Morey is a ridiculous general manager, and I mean, this was, I think, a great trade for him to maximize the value you have on your team. To shift to the OKC side of things, McCain gives you talent, he gives you shooting, he makes Isaiah Joe somewhat expendable now, and he gives you scoring, which you'll need since SGA is injured through the All-Star break now. So you'll get scoring in a pinch for the next couple weeks as SGA rehabs from whatever injury he has.
And, OKC can afford to really take their time with McCain. He showed something to the entire league for that first stretch in his rookie season. OKC has the time, they've got the length to be able to figure it out. Like, they've got a ton of other options at the guard position. Of course, SGA is out. But once he comes back, they'll have a ton of other options. And they can say, like, listen, we'll put you on the OKC blue, and you can figure out what that was. And we'll figure out a way to integrate it. If there's any team that I have confidence in,
it's OKC.
It's OKC. Exactly.
Yeah, completely agree. And I think
there's one more trade.
Actually, there's one other one that I want to talk about.
Another one before this one?
Before we get to this one, I do want to talk about the Charlotte Hornets because I don't.
Yeah, let's do that.
I don't think we got to Coby White, and Charlotte's been on a fucking tear. I mean, they've been ridiculous, really good, and I really like getting Coby White for them.
Do we think they make the playoffs? Not playing playoffs? They could do it.
I think they'll be like the 7th, 8th. They're playing better than everyone else in this.
Great outcome. I think they get
great outcome
for sure.
I agree. I think they've been better than everyone in the 7 through 10 slot, and everyone in the 7 through 10, I believe, got worse. If I'm not mistaken. I mean, didn't make any trades. The Hawks got worse. Bulls got worse, but the Bulls made good moves to get worse. Which
the Hornets right now.
Oh, they are? I didn't even realize it. That's incredible. Wow. So I mean, yeah, I think they'll be 7th by the end of the season. And I mean, this trade I loved for Chicago. I mean, for Charlotte.
The 6th place Sixers.
Yeah, that's 5.5. I don't think they'll catch Philly, but with the George injury, maybe
the 7th place Magic, they can do that.
They've been playing better than Orlando. Orlando's a mess, but Orlando dumped 2 seconds to get off Tyus Jones, which is
tough, and they didn't add anyone.
Yeah, it's rough. But the Hornets, I mean, getting Coby White, who's not had a great year this year, and adding more shot creation to this team is a plus. That's a plus, right? Coby White is a better player than Colin Sexton. He's a better player than anyone in this trade. And to get a shooting, to get a shot creation with LaMelo, with Con as sort of like the 6th man, that's a move, man. That is a freaking move.
Coby is incredibly turnover prone. He's had his highest turnover season this year. He's a high risk playmaker, but he does make plays. And if you're putting him off the bench, he's a cool change of pace from LaMelo Ball. He's a cool change of pace from Con Knippel. I think there's really interesting combinations you can do there. But Coby White will light it up from 3. When he gets hot, he gets crazy hot. And that's the kind of guy that they need off their bench when they make this final push. Like, obviously, they've got something really interesting going with their starting lineup. They don't have a guy that they can put into the game and all right, go crazy for a second. Coby White gives them that.
He's exactly that guy.
That's not what Colin Sexton was, and they're getting that here with Coby White. This is a guy that is going to be super valuable for them down the stretch. He almost averages 5 assists a game. Just being able to move the ball more for Charlotte. I think that's something we talked about a lot at the beginning of the year. It's just like, Charlotte's got all these fun offensive weapons. How are you going to get the ball around to them? How are you going to get the ball to them? And Coby White's a guy that can do that for them.
I mean, the Bulls get 3 more second-round picks in this trade, which is good for them. But and Colin Sexton, and they do reroute Ousmane Dieng to Milwaukee, which is good for Milwaukee, I guess. Dieng is fun. He's young. There's something there, I guess.
Sure.
But I mean, mostly on the Hornets because that's the big headliner, Coby White. You sort of get another guy, another guard that can create. You have like 4 guys that are true creators on this team with Brandon Miller, who's I think been their best player as of late, Con, Knippel, LaMelo Ball, of course, and Coby White. And you can run a lot of fun lineup combinations with Con, Coby, and LaMelo and really interchange them however you want. because you're very complementary players to each other. And now I think if you're Charlotte, it's just to keep building on this, culture that you're sort of creating, keep building on talent, and see where you end up in the offseason. You're playing with house money. I mean, I think it's more valuable now where you are and how you're playing to get playoff experience than to bottom out and to suck, right? Obviously, there's so much talent in this class, but if you end up with like the 12th, 13th pick, you have a chance of getting a center, which I think is a bigger need than anything else that they have right now. I mean, Kalkbrenner's been really good, or was really good for them at the beginning of the season. He's sort of fallen off a bit. Musa Diabate's sort of taken the starting lineup position, but I mean, you have a chance to get like a 4 or 5 in the late lottery, like a Pat Nagongba. Like, I'm blanking on names here, but there are centers that can be had.
From Arizona.
Yeah, Krivas from Arizona, right? There are names here that you can get and sort of fill out that front court, and I think that's fine, right? I think it's more important to try to see if you can get playoff experience, and Coby White will help you do that.
All right. I mentioned it earlier. We've got one more trade on our notes list. It's someone that me and Praneel absolutely love talking about. And it's the strangest deal we saw all trade deadline, which is Golden State trading Jonathan Kuminga and Buddy Hield for Kristaps Porzingis. Who do we want to start with here? Because I don't really like this is the rare lose-lose trade. I literally
saw this trade and I was just like, okay, sure, bro.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Let's talk about the Warriors aspect of it. If Porzingis ever is healthy, and I don't he's got like West Nile virus or something.
I don't know what's going on.
I don't know what's going on. They had to the ambulance picked him up from Atlanta to take him to Golden State. If he's ever healthy for him, it's a great move. I think Porzingis, his shot protection, his rim protection, still really good. He can still shoot the ball. He's a huge body, an interesting fit next to Draymond Green, but he's just never healthy.
Yeah, I mean, okay, theoretical fit, I think it's great. I think he's incredible theoretical fit with this team. Oh my god, there's probably a less than 20% chance of this happening, but next season, if he plays, if he's healthy, and you get Jimmy back, and he's not completely worse on a bad ACL tear as a 35-year-old, and you have Steph, odds, Jimmy, Draymond, Kristaps, all healthy, which is a huge if. That's a great, great team.
It is, yeah.
They're old, but that's really, really, really good, right? But that's not the issue with Kristaps. It's injury stuff. And I mean, he's played 17
injuries at this point, man. It's whatever this illness.
It's health. It's whatever it is. I don't think he'll play much for them this year. I don't know if they're going to push for the playoffs. I don't think they should. They own their pick, so I think they should just...
I would bottom out.
Logically, you try to bottom out, but there's too many teams that are worse than them to really bottom out. Maybe you get a late lottery pick and you can make a swing there, but I mean, you needed to move off Jonathan Kuminga. You needed to. I mean, there was no value there anyways. I guess Kristaps might be the best possible player you can get on the market, but I don't think he'll really provide value for you because he just doesn't play.
Right. And they get rid of Buddy Hield, who is he's not great, but Buddy Hield gives you 3-point shooting in huge volumes when he's on, which is a useful thing to have as a playoff team. Obviously, he's not a great defender, not a great passer, really not great at much else other than shooting. But we've seen games where Golden State will go to Buddy Hield in a playoff game or go to Buddy Hield in a super important regular season game and he'll drop 27 points. He is a terrifying shooter when he's on, and that's a useful guy to lose. Kuminga, they weren't playing him. And frankly, I don't think he's going to play in Atlanta. We were talking about this off recording. Quinn Snyder must have called Ansi Salah and been like, really? You're going to play this guy? I don't get it. I don't get what Atlanta sees there.
I don't know where Kuminga fits. I was thinking about this too. It's you have to play Ricochet. I don't like Ricochet, but you have to play him.
You pick him first.
You have to play him. He'll start. Daniels, you're not taking Daniels' position. You're not taking Nas' position.
You pay Daniels.
Yeah. You pay Daniels. You can't play Daniels, Ricochet, and Kuminga together because neither of them can shoot consistently. You can't really play Ricochet and Daniels together because that's a horrific spacing.
You can't play Kuminga and Johnson together.
Yeah, because they sort of play the same position. So where do you play him, right? You have to play them in these weird pockets of your rotation where you're not playing Daniels, you're playing Ricochet, but you also have Na on the court as well. It's just it's a mess.
And then the other part of that trade is weird too, because you're picking up Buddy Hield in the same deadline that you took McCollum and Kispert on.
Yeah,
that those guys also play the same role as Buddy Hield.
Position, right? They do the same things, and I think getting Buddy Hield does make the Vit Krejci dump make more sense, and I did not like that at all. By the way, I think Vit Krejci's better than Kispert. He's better than Buddy. He has the potential to be better than Buddy. He has the potential to be better. I think him and Kispert are similar. Kispert might be better, but he has the potential to be better than every single player that they have in that role
Sure.
on their team.
Yeah.
And I mean, they did also get rid of Kennard to have Buddy Hield to be more high volume. But I'm looking at this team right now, and it's kind of weird. It's like a collection of these like two through like a bunch of these like wing type of players and like guards that don't really play make a lot type of players.
Yeah.
And
You
I don't know. I mean,
they might need. I think they need like a really strong 3-point shooting guard who's got really good passing. They could probably someone they could hide on defense. I don't know who that would be though.
Me too. I think he's kind of like good looking too. Maybe.
You're thinking of him?
I was thinking of him. I don't know. I don't know who you're thinking of.
Like, I was thinking of Habibi Trey, but
I was thinking of another one. I think they're very similar players, anyways. But I will say, I think Atlanta sort of goes all in on seeing if that pick ends up being like top 3, top 4. I think it will be, and then you'll get a guy, and then you'll probably figure it out after that. But I mean, the rest of these
Kingston Flemings as a destination.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Atlanta, I think they just took on Kuminga for the sake of taking on Kuminga and to get rid of Porzingis. They're just like, we'll see what Kuminga does for the next 30 games. If he isn't great, then we'll just be like, all right, fuck off. Who cares? But like, this screams Atlanta's gonna really figure it out in the offseason and tear it down. And this next 30 games are just to finish off the season time.
Yeah, well, we just hit an hour mark on this podcast. I think it's a good time to wrap it. We've talked about all the trades. Praneel, where can the people find you?
Yeah, I mean, Praneel_C on Twitter, but I think most importantly, PlayVision AI is where you're going to look for on all socials. We're going to have podcasts like these coming up every week, I think, is what we're planning on doing.
We'll have stuff like this where it's me and Praneel talking about basketball. You'll see Anish interviewing interesting people.
We had Anish
interviewing us.
Yeah, we had Anish interview CJ Watson as the first video, so you should check that out. CJ Watson, Warriors legend. It was a great watch. Very fun to see Watson's insight. But of course, yeah, so like stay tuned. We'll have more of these coming up. You can follow us on all socials. We'll be posting regularly. Yeah, that's all I have.
It's all right. I'm Jack B. Dan on Twitter, Jack the Kings fan on TikTok, and more importantly, at PlayVision. You'll see our draft insights. Me and Praneel will do a lot as the March Madness tournament comes up, as well as the NBA draft. You'll be seeing a lot of content from us. Well, thank you for watching the second episode of the PlayVision Pod, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.